welcome back. He's at the centre of the controversy over the BAE deal and suspected of accepting over $2 billion in payments from the company. But just who is Saudi Prince Bandar? Wealthy politician, close friend and ally of the Bush family, and trained fighter pilot. Prince Bandar bin Sultan is one of the most powerful men in Saudi Arabia. Bandar was appointed ambassador to the US in 1983, a position he held for over 20 years. During his tenure, he enjoyed close, some say unprecedented, access to presidents, going to meetings at the White House and publicly endorsing George W. Bush in the 2004 presidential elections. Bandar has an especially close relationship with the Bush family, even visiting them at their retreat in Kennebunkport, Maine, and flying his family to the Bush retreat in Texas. But his power goes beyond Washington. Bandar played a key role in negotiating an end to the dispute over the 1988 bombing of a Pan Am plane over Lockerbie, Scotland. The deal called for Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi to hand over Libyan suspects in the case. Now the Saudi prince is suspected of corruption, a claim he strongly denies, and at the middle of controversy over a multi-billion-dollar arms deal. We're joined again by our guests in London, Fuad Ibrahim, author and editor of the Saudi Affairs monthly magazine, Brian Lees, former British Defence Attaché in Saudi Arabia and currently an advisor on the Saudi Economic Offset Programme, Dilip Hero, an expert on the Gulf issues and author of several books. Mr. Ibrahim, Prince Bandar, obviously a very powerful man at home. Will he be investigated?
Well, throughout the last 2 decades, Prince Bandar played a central role in a wide spectrum of issues ranging from arms deals, bribing insurgents in Iraq, Palestine, Lebanon and Afghanistan, which he was involved in financing Al-Qaeda during the age of the jihadis, as they said. And we should not ignore the role of Bandar in trying to convince some Arab governments to accept the modified peace initiative, which was announced in Arab Summit in Beirut in 2002, which he tried to accept the Israeli government notes on the initiative regarding the right of the return of the Palestinian refugees to their homeland.
Okay, very impressive man, and thank you for giving us his credentials, which we've already tried to outline. But do you think he will be investigated?
I don't think he will be investigated, particularly in Saudi Arabia, where he is backed by the Sudairis, who represent
okay, let me interrupt you there, if I may, and talk to Mr. Hero a little bit further. I mean, Prince Bandar is a close friend of the Bush family, and he's been very involved in talking about future Middle East initiatives. Do you think that'll remain the case?
Consider, even to have a straight thought, investigating a son of the defense minister who has been defense minister for almost 40 years and who is the crown prince.
Yeah, but excuse me, I'm trying to ask you about his relationship with President Bush and his involvement in Middle East affairs. Will this continue to be the case?
No, I think that's really, I don't think so, two things are mixed as far as, particular bribery case is concerned. I don't think anybody in the Saudi Arabia has even the least bit of concern about it. Even the Saudi citizens themselves, even if you tell them exactly what we are saying, they will simply a big yawn. So what? They would say it's been going on since 1932 when the kingdom was established. We know it's going on, so what? Now, as far as his standing is concerned in the world, I don't think this really matters. You see, we know that he has done this, he has done that, but where are we at now? You tell me. There was a most free and fair election in the Arab world in Palestine, and that particular government is being boycotted, by the...
Okay, Mr. Hero, we're trying to stick to the subject. Mr. Lees, if I could bring you in there. U.S. authorities say that they will investigate further this issue. Where do you think that'll leave the relationship, their business relationship with Saudi Arabia, and where do you think the relationship with UK will be left after this incident?
I think Prince Bandar is perfectly capable of answering any questions in Saudi Arabia. I don't think it's been pointed out that he is head of the National Security Council, so that he has a very close involvement with the UK on security issues. I'd also like to make three very quick points. One is that I think Mr. Blair's decision to drop the investigation is probably the only sensible decision he's made on in the region so far, certainly by comparison with his decisions on Iraq and on Lebanon. Secondly, it was pointed out that in 1977 the US banned payments. Well, fair enough. The UK has followed, and as I said earlier, it now acts in a totally different way, and we have to deal with the present rather than something that happened 22 years ago. And the third point is that it was mentioned that because the Americans banned payments, the Saudis turned to the French and the British. In fact, the Saudis have bought a lot of American equipment perfectly legally, and I think their decision in 1985 to turn to the British was as much a political move as anything else, and because the Americans at that time could not actually be guaranteed to continue supplying the spares for any equipment that they delivered. And a government has to make decisions based on political reality, not necessarily on vague political principles.
So, Mr. Ibrahim, if that's the case, do you see the deal still going ahead of the 72 Eurofighter Typhoon aircraft with Saudi Arabia? That's not jeopardized in any way.
I'm very sorry to disagree with this view, because even in Britain, the UK press and media was outraged by these corruptions, because they believe that Saudi princes are poisoning the political life, they are damaging the liberal values and democratic principles in the UK. The case maybe will be different in Saudi Arabia, where Prince Bandar belongs to a very powerful wing in opposition to a king who is not powerful enough to take a firm action against Prince Bandar or any other influential members, such as Prince Sultan for himself, who is involved totally in such allegations. However, I think the Saudi royal family will face very critical challenges in the coming days regarding these allegations, and they should prepare themselves for more and more revelations regarding these corruptions, which will not only distort the image of the royal family, but it will affect their will have an impact on their continuity and the stability of the state itself.
Okay, Mr. Hiri, if I can ask you very briefly, what options are now open to the Saudi family?
Yeah, okay, I think they have actually used their options. You know, for example, as been said, they said to Tony Blair, if you carry on with the investigation, we will stop any national security intelligence sharing. Now, that, quite honestly, we are told a big deal. Now, you see, suppose Saudis cut off this information. So what happens? They are still be giving that kind of information to the Americans. And American and the British intelligence agencies are hand in glove. So there's no way that they can totally circumvent Britain and say, okay, we get no such information.
Okay, Mr. Hiro, I'm going to have to unfortunately stop you there. I'm very sorry. Dilip Hiro, Brian Lees, and Fuad Ibrahim, thank you all for joining us. And thank you, as always, for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. As you know, we welcome your comments and suggestions. You can email us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Goodbye for now, and thanks for watching.